Good afternoon and welcome to this General Licensing Subcommittee hearing. First item on the agenda is appointment of chair. So if we could have nominations for appointment of chair, please.
I'll nominate Councillor Potter.
Thank you. Councillor Potter.
Thank you, everybody, and welcome to this General Licensing Subcommittee. I am Councillor Jed Potter from Allestree. I'll ask people to inform the meeting of their status, etc. So carry on.
Councillor Richard Hudson, representing Chaddeston North.
Faz Sadiq, solicitor.
Nick Samper from the Licensing Guys. Good afternoon, I'm Chris Lucan. I'm also from the Licensing Guys, and I'm here this afternoon as advocate representing my client. My name is Lars Adamson. I'm the applicant.
Sorry, could you just again with your mic on?
Do you want me to go first? Okay, my name is Nick Semper from the Licensing Guys.
Good afternoon, I'm Chris Lucan from the Licensing Guys.
Good afternoon, my name is Awsan Amskuna, the applicant.
I'm Zoe Mays, Senior Licensing Officer.
Good afternoon, my name is PC Jacob Callow. I'm representing Derbyshire Constabulary at the licensing team.
Hello, I'm PC Claire Al-Nouri. I'm from Police Licensing at Derbyshire.
I'm Jackie Waring. I'm Democratic Services Officer.
Hi, I'm Councillor Kirk Cuss and I'm the Councillor for Alveston North.
Thank you. As I said, I'm the chair, and the brief overview of today's meeting will be that we'll hear from all parties in due course, and at times you'll be able to ask questions, as the councillors will, from what's been said. So, Zoe, do you want to present the case for the licensing department, please? Thank you.
Sorry, Chair. Could we just do an overview on how the meeting's going to proceed so that the licensing guys are aware of the running order? Yeah. Thank you.
So the running order will be the licensing officer will present their report and outline the general terms of the matters to be considered. The chair will then ask councillors if they wish to speak to the officer concerned. The officer is then afforded the opportunity to ask officers questions. A legal representative will also be given the opportunity to ask questions by the chair. Once questions have been asked of the licensing officer, the chair will invite responsible authority or making representatives, in this case Derbyshire Constabulary, to present their case, and again they can be asked questions. Councillors will then be afforded the opportunity to ask responsible authority questions. A legal representation will be also given the opportunity by the chair to ask any relevant questions to the representatives on what's been made. The interested party or the representative, that's you, the applicant, who are living in the vicinity, are asked to outline general terms in their relevant representation. Once again, the chair will always invite the councillors and legal representatives to ask any relevant questions on the representation made by any interested parties. Are we okay with that? No problem at all. So, Zoe, if you wouldn't mind.
Thank you, Chair.
Sorry, Chair. We just need to do apologies and declarations of interest.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yes. Are there any apologies from anybody? Have we noted any apologies, Jackie?
No apologies received.
Any interest from any parties? No? Okay, Jackie? No late items? I've not been made aware of any, unless you've got any for me. That's great, thank you. So, third time of asking then, Zoe, off you go.
Thank you, Chair. An application for a premises licence for Blue Light M&M at 2 Monk Street North, Derby, DE22 2TX was submitted to the licensing team on the 24th of April 2025. The proposed premises licence application relates to licensable activities of late night refreshment indoors and outdoors and the sale by retail of alcohol on and off sales. Full details of the application and plan can be found in Appendix 1. The applicant is represented by the licensing guys, who have agreed conditions with Environmental Health. Details of the agreed conditions can be found in Appendix 2. One representation has been received by Derby Constabulary in relation to crime and disorder and public nuisance. Full details can be found in Appendix 3. The options available today are to decide to either grant the application as per the application, modify the conditions of the licence, or reject the whole or part of the application. Thank you.
Thank you, Zoe. Are there any questions? Could I just ask one from that indoors and outdoors late night refreshment? We've got a street map on the pack, but we've got nothing. Can we put that up, please, Jackie? So, is that the premises we're talking about? So, late night refreshment, inside and outside. Where will be the outside?
It's for takeaways.
For takeaways.
So it's always going to be made inside, but you can take the stuff away with you or have it home delivered, for example. Especially very useful in COVID lands if it comes back or similar.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any other questions? Everybody happy on that? Okay, thank you very much. As I said, we have got Derbyshire Constabulary making an objection. Would you like to state your objection, please?
Thank you. I'm PC Al-Nouri and I've been a warranted officer since March 2022. I've worked as a response officer for 3 years and I joined police licensing in February 2025. My role as a licensing officer is to work with licensed premises in order to promote and uphold the 4 licensing objectives.
Can I just ask you speak a little slower, please? Because
Yeah.
I'm trying to make notes and
Sorry.
I'm not very fast.
One of my responsibilities is to review submitted licence applications to ensure that the applicant will promote the 4 licensing objectives and to ensure that the applicant is a suitable person to hold and control that premises licence. On Saturday the 5th of April 2025 at approximately 8:00 p.m, myself and PC Mitchell and Inspector Hanley Farrell conducted a licence inspection at Blue Light M&M after a report had been made that the premises was operating without a premises licence. The previous premises licence holder had left the country as his right to work had expired. The premises licence expired on the 31st of December 2024. On entering the premises, we were greeted by a male who was behind the bar. The bar had a large display of alcohol. The male stated that they were selling alcohol and shisha on the premises. There were customers in the pool room to the rear of the premises who were playing pool, smoking cigarettes, smoking shisha and drinking alcohol. The male behind the bar stated that he was not the owner of the premises. He stated that he lived above the premises. The male then called the owner, Mr. Mishner, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, on his mobile. Mr. Mishner stated to PC Mitchell that he was the owner. PC Mitchell explained to Mr. Mishner that he could not sell alcohol or serve food past 11 p.m. as he did not have a premises licence to do so. He was told that he needed to remove all of the alcohol whilst we were on the premises, to which the male behind the bar did remove all the alcohol. Inspector Hanley Farrell spoke with the male behind the bar again regarding smoking inside the premises. The male stated that this would not happen again. PC Mitchell also spoke to Mr. Mishner about smoking on the premises and was told it was prohibited. An application was then received for a premises licence dated the 24th of April 2025 from Mr. Mishner. On the 23rd of May 2025, officers again attended. The premises was open. There was no alcohol on sale or displayed in the premises. The pool room to the rear of the property had around 10 patrons inside. Several of the patrons were playing pool whilst smoking cigarettes inside the pool room. All of the windows and the doors were closed. Smoking in enclosed public places and workplaces has been illegal in England and Wales and Northern Ireland since 2007 as part of the Public Health Act 2006. Although the use of tobacco does not fall under the Licensing Act, this demonstrates that the premises is undermining the licensing objective of public safety and prevention of crime and disorder. Formal representation in respect to the premises licence application was emailed on Thursday the 8th of May to Derby City Licensing Department. Thank you.
Any questions?
2 questions, please, Chair. I just want, if I'm looking through the document I've got in front of me, late night drinking is evidence to lead to a higher likelihood of crime and disorder. Can you give any examples in the immediate area of recent examples where there has been any kind of crime?
So Saturday just gone, we've had a serious incident of stabbings in the city centre. We have a lot of crime in that immediate area. What's the street called? On Curzon Street, which is just around the just up the road from here. So we have a high level of crime and disorder, which is close to that premises.
Thank you, that's very much appreciated. Now, I've just been listening to what you've just said, and it's obvious that there has been illegal activity in that building already. If a crime's been committed, has any action been taken towards that at all so far or not?
No, we haven't progressed anything for that. We just asked him to remove the alcohol.
But there was definitely illegal activity on those premises?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. That's fine, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. You said there were smoking cigarettes on premise. Is it a legal requirement to have no smoking signs on premise, and were there any, do you recall, on the premise?
There wasn't any no smoking signs on the premises.
Sorry, is it a legal requirement to have this as well?
I don't believe so.
No.
I believe it's a legal requirement to have at least.
Thank you. Question from me. The papers I've been served have got a note on it saying officers have since attended. That must have been the visit on the 23rd of May. And noted the notice displayed on the premises regarding the application for premises licence was not displayed on the correct colour paper. Could you clarify this, please? Zoe, do you want to?
Yes, Chair, I can clarify that. I think there was some slight confusion about this. It was due to the actual colour itself. It's a very pale blue. So I think what happened when Derbyshire Constabulary made the visit, they checked that the notice was up. And at that time, they notified us after they'd seen it, basically stating that they thought it wasn't on pale blue paper. After further investigation from ourselves in the licensing team, it was proved by the licensing guys that the blue notice was acceptable and was on pale blue paper. So that part of the objection is not really relevant because it was dealt with and is valid. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Zoe.
Yes, certainly. I have a question for your legal advisor, please. Prior to the hearing, we should be served with all evidence. Disclosure. There's lots of the police officer's evidence that we've not been made aware of beforehand, and we've not been able to take instruction on from the applicant. And I'd just like to have some clarity about how much of that should have been placed before the committee before we had sight of it, and what we can do about remedying that situation, please. We can answer a lot of it, clearly, but we've not been served any of that, and it can't be, my understanding of it, and I obviously bow to your legal experience, but it cannot be served at a hearing for the first time without it being agreed.
Well, I don't think the committee have seen any of it either. So.
But, ma'am, they've just heard it.
Yes, but That question is probably best answered by the police then, because if it's, what is it based on? Is it intelligence? If it's that, then obviously we wouldn't get sight of it.
What information are you talking about, sorry?
Well, this is the great details about the visit, the nature of the visit, the smoking, the revisit, and then the there was another thing as well. It's just temporarily, the signage and stuff like that. You know, we cannot possibly prepare for a case if we're not told what the case is against us. That's a basic Article 6. You have the right to know, for a fairness of a hearing, you have the right to know the extent of the case against you, ma'am. Sir, thank you.
So we have a disclosure issue here, I think. Do you want to take a 10-minute adjournment? We'll take a 10-minute adjournment while we discuss the disclosure issue, if that's okay with you. this evidence, as we weren't aware of it. Carrying on.
There's one thing we just wanted to ask about, the crime data, sir, that was mentioned, the stabbing, which had nothing to do with the premises, right? I'd ask you not to give any weight to that as well, sir.
Unfortunately, it's part and parcel of the inner city crime survey.
So
it doesn't attach.
But it's not in the disclosure bundle, sir. Okay, you've handed down your advice. We'll go with it, but we'll reserve our right to appeal if that's okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, do you have any questions for the officers on what they've said?
No, thanks, sir. May I query just one? Have there been any incidents recorded at this premises in question in the past?
I think on file we've got 4 incidents, but all of quite age. So we didn't bring them up into this because they're no connection with the current occupants and current owners. So there's been no incidents this year.
Understood. We'll take that as a no. Thank you very much. Most kind.
Okay, thank you very much. Now it comes to your presentation to the committee, if you'd like to go ahead.
So thank you, and good afternoon again, everyone. I am Chris Lucan from the Licensing Guys. We're representing the applicant today, being Otswana Mshgana. Otswana is comparatively new to the hospitality business. He studied for his personal license and he passed that qualification with ease. We know that because my learned friend here trained him. By now, he should have been granted a personal licence, but for the fact that Nottingham City Council deny ever receiving his application forms and supporting documentation, despite us sending it to them by tracked 24 delivery and us serving photographic evidence of the application forms being delivered and received at the council offices. The hunt for them continues, but I digress. Blue Light M&M Cafe was, until recently, licensed. However, and unbeknown to Otswana, that licence lapsed as it was time limited, i.e. it had an end date, and that is very peculiar. It's an anomaly. In our over 40 years combined years of licensing experience, several of which as a licensing consultant and advocate, I've certainly, and I know Nick, who's served for a lot longer than I have, has never seen before a time-limited licence. We as a business handle something in the region of 300 per year, and not one of those, we write, has ever had an end date. However, when the fact that the licence had expired was brought to Otsana's attention, he ceased trading immediately and came to us to obtain one, hence we're here today. As you'll be aware, each application, of course, must be judged on its own facts and merits. And the significant merits of this application are that it is a quality application. It's correctly conditioned with specific, appropriate and proportionate control measures, thus minimising any potential that any of the licensing objective would be undermined. In this hearing, the burden is on the applicant to show that the proposed operation, supported by the proposed operating schedule, is capable of promoting the licensing objectives and will not undermine them. Any representatives opposing the application have the burden to show that these premises, trading under the operating schedule before you, will undermine the licensing objectives and demonstrate that with evidence. In our submission, any subcommittee properly advised could only refuse the application if it's found on the evidence of the representatives to be not capable of promoting the licensing objectives. So may I ask yourselves, why do the representatives, also known as objectors, have to provide evidence? And that answer is found in paragraph 9.43 of the section 182 statutory guidance, which clearly states, and I quote, "The authority's determination should be evidence-based, justified as being appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives and proportionate to what it is intended to achieve." Significantly, there's not a shred of evidence before you today that specifically challenges or criticises in any way the premises, the operating schedule, the applicant, the designated premises supervisor whatsoever. There's also no history of disorder, noise complaints, or indeed any other cause of pressing concern evidence involving this cafe bar or this applicant during his tenure before you. That is an undeniable and self-evident fact. So, let me walk you through who has, or in this case rather who has not, raised any representations or objection. The licensing authority, being the lead responsible authority for all licensing matters in the city, have made no representation, and they take no issue whatsoever with its scope or its content. Trading Standards and Children's Services, the responsible authorities who protect children from harm. Public Health, who deal with substance misuse, and the Planning and Highways departments all raise no objections. Environmental Health being the experts on noise pollution and therefore the lead agency on public nuisance.
And public health smoking.
Yes, and indeed Public Health, which covers smoking as it happens. Covering that licence objective in Derby, came to terms when we accepted the suggested conditions going forward, and therefore they don't object either. As demonstrated, this is an evidence-based decision-making process, and you as a committee cannot be insensible to the fact that all but one of the lead and expert responsible authorities in Derby within this application have presented any evidence against it. And you can therefore rightly assume that in the opinion of all the other responsible authorities, the application does not undermine the licensing objectives. Otherwise, they would be here with evidence to argue vehemently against it, as is their statutory duty. We're left then with the objection from the police. With respect, we fail to grasp why the Chief Officer of Police objects to the application in its entirety. We did contact PCL Nuri to discuss her objection with a view to perhaps reassuring her or agreeing with further conditions that might reinforce the licence. However, we were informed on the 3rd of June that she upheld her objection for the reasons outlined within it, and hence we're listed for this hearing before you today. I'll deal then with the issues that the police raise in order that they appear in the short representation before you. Now, the first matter we have effectively disposed of, that being that the notice placed at the premises was not pale blue, so I shall discount that. Secondly, the premises operated without a licence since December 2024 until they were apprised of the lapse of the licence. Thirdly, that late night drinking is evidence to lead to a higher likelihood of crime disorder, and that the venue is in the city centre, which inherently increases the likelihood of disturbance which could cause public nuisance. I shall skirt over the blue paper matter. Second matter, it is true that the premises did operate without an extant licence from December 2024, and I've explained why. The moment Otsana was made aware of the lapse of the pre-existing licence, he ceased trading immediately and set about rectifying matters. Again, it's for the licensing authority to prosecute the applicant for this inadvertent breach, but they chose not to, and also not to stand in the way of the application before you today. Items 3 and 4 I'll take together, if you will. We agree that late night drinking can lead to a higher likelihood of crime and disorder, and the venue is in the city centre. However, we do not agree that these premises have, do, or will cause crime and disorder or public nuisance issues, and I'll explain why. These concerns are completely generic. They don't refer to the specifics of this application, the nature of these premises, or the character of this applicant whatsoever. They could apply to each and every premises in Derby city limits and don't speak to this application. These premises will cease selling alcohol at 0000 hours at midnight. That's not a late night operation of itself. There's no restriction on hours or licence numbers in Derby that we're aware of, for example, a cumulative impact assessment, a stress policy or simpler, which would apply to this location or operation. And there's no cause for concern evidence that Otsana will run a disorderly or unruly establishment. There's no history of any crime, disorder or public nuisance attached to this premises whilst it's operated under what is essentially an identical licence for a considerable period of time. These premises have operated with precisely the same hours for many years with no issue whatsoever. So, in my submission, where is the evidence that should you grant an almost identical premises licence to Otsana today, that these premises, which have operated quietly for a lengthy period, will suddenly erupt into being an epicentre of crime, disorder and public nuisance? And with respect, there's not. I'll talk briefly about fear and speculation. The police speculate that were you to grant this licence, today, then they fear that problems might ensue. Okay, now there are two reasons why fear and speculation are inadmissible in these proceedings. Paragraph 9.43 of the Section 182 guidance clearly states, and I will quote, "The authority's determination should be evidence-based. Fear and speculation on what may or may not happen is clearly not evidence. Anything that happens in the future or a consequence of any decision made by you today, again, is plainly not evidence. It is what it is, speculation which lacks an evidence base." Secondly, there's a ruling in the case of Daniel Thwaites versus Wirral Borough Magistrates Court. In the High Court, it was QBD on the 6th of May 2008. That judgment indicates that conditions should only be attached to a licence with a view to promoting the licensing objectives, and that actual evidence must support the reason for imposing conditions or indeed refusing an application. There's no history of problems with these premises, nothing before you from the other responsible authorities, no crime and disorder data put before you of relevance today, or history of noise complaints pertaining to these premises in the bundle, and the potential for any such issues is more than properly addressed in the proposed conditions. In any event, Parliament has already provided a mechanism to deal with this by the Section 51 element of the Licensing Act. Were you to grant this licence and problems ensue, then the mechanism to control them is self-evidently provided through the aforementioned Section 51 process. Members, I'll now rest with your permission and deal with any further questions.
Do you want to deal with smoking?
Yeah, I was actually going to mention this summary up, but in short, the sale of alcohol is ostensibly the only issue in contention. This panel draws its powers, with due respect, from the Licensing Act, and it can't go beyond them. We don't contend that there were people smoking on that early, despite the fact that this may or may not be put in the bundle. The fact of the matter is that those people have been dealt with, they have been banned, they remain banned, and they will not be welcomed back to this premises. So going forward, that is also off the cards. Yeah, I mean, what more can one say, but I would ask you to look favourably upon what this is, and it is a modest and well-conditioned application which seeks only to put back what was already there. A state of affairs which should never cause any issue with anyone until the inadvertent conditions. And there we have it. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you. I'll ask my colleagues if we've got any questions.
Thank you, Chair. Can I put a question directly to the applicant? Does anybody have any issue with that? Can you repeat the 4 licensing objectives to us right now? Thank you. Thank you.
Question from me. Could the applicant just outline his experience in the licensing trade, please? That would be a great help, I think, to the committee. How much experience he's got, what premises he's run, etc., etc.
So we had a small cafe in Sudan when we were a refugee, so we have the experience, but the thing is, Sudan and England is different, so we're still learning, but I don't have any issue with the public, with handling people, with noise. So I don't have a genuine long time experience in UK, but...
Okay, that's fantastic. Thank you, Oksana. Yes, he was trained by me last month, and he hasn't got experience of running a licence in the UK. However, as a result of Nottinghamshire City Council losing his application for a personal licence, we've had the opportunity to recruit a DPS who will be put in immediately after this hearing were you to grant a premises licence. This pre-existing DPS has experience of licensing in the UK. What's his name, Oksana?
The guy,
The new guy, yes.
Gabriel.
Sorry?
Gabriel.
Gabriel. Okay, thank you.
Thanks very much. That's preempted my second question.
Thank you, Chair. Repeatedly, there's been mention of paperwork and Nottingham City Council, which we've got no information about whatsoever. Could you just fill us in on that, please?
Yes, certainly. I can help you with that because it actually was generated by our head office, for want of a better word. Otsana, I knew that. Otsana came to us and said, I need a personal licence because I acquired this cafe bar, this very modest cafe bar in Derby. I said, to be the DPS on that, not to be the premises licence holder, but to be the DPS, you're going to need a personal licence. So he said, right, well, he's getting on very well with my company. So he drove all the way from Nottingham to Hereford to a course that we run. We train about 20 people, maybe more, a month. And he sat in one of the classes and then he took, which is an all day long, and he took his exam. As a result of passing his exam, which he passed well, the certificate, along with 2 copies of his passport photograph, his right to work in the UK, his original passport, and his DBS certificate to show that he's not a wrong-un, is sent to the licensing authority where he currently lives. Because he's currently, at the time, he was living in Nottingham City Council area because he intends to come down here and run this place, but it's where they live. Okay? So, it was sent off to Nottingham City Council. For some odd reason, they have lost it. They denied receiving it. We sent everything on track 24. We sent them photographs of it being delivered there. So someone is currently going through the great big building, I think it's Maid Marian's Way in Nottingham, to find out what they've done with his application. That's why there's been a lapse. Actually, lack of experience, licensing experience, isn't a bar to the grant of a premises licence, but clearly you, from what we've heard, which I'm hoping you're going to ignore, give appropriate weight to or actually no weight to, you have some concerns. Were you to grant a premises licence right now, it couldn't be actuated because there would be no DPS were it to be him because he doesn't hold a personal licence, but he has a new employee who has got a personal licence who can act as DPS and the experience to go with it to act as DPS with immediate effect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, Zoe, would you like to sum up for me, please, if there's no further questions?
Okay, thank you, Chair. The options available today are to decide to either grant the application as per the application, modify the conditions of the licence or reject the whole or part of the application. Thank you.
Have you anything further to say from the Derbyshire Constabulary?
No, we don't, thank you.
Right, if you'd like to sum up then, please.
Thank you, sir. So this hearing is simply about whether these premises operating these hours in accordance with the operating schedule, including the comprehensive raft of conditions already agreed by all but one of the responsible authorities, will undermine or promote the licensing objectives. Very clearly, our position is that it won't undermine, it will in fact promote all the other responsible authorities, the elected community representatives, such as county and ward councillors and members of the public, such as neighbours in the residential and commercial premises which bound this location raise no issues with its substance, content, or indeed its inbuilt safeguards. In short, I respectfully request that you do indeed grant this application for the premises licences sought, supported by the comprehensive raft of effective conditions and any others you deem appropriate and proportionate, and in so doing you wish Otsana every success going forward with his new, very modest business venture. Thank you.
Thank you. Just turn your light off. Yeah. Thank you. So we've heard all that, I think, and the committee will discuss what's been said and hopefully come to a decision which will be notified in due course. Jackie, is that correct? Most likely tomorrow. But, yeah, most likely tomorrow because we've had a big meeting this morning, so it'll most likely be sent to you in the morning. Okay? Thank you.